What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word mistake or accident? Hi, I'm Ayona Guha, and I'm here to shed light on a concept which I believe is strongly misunderstood. For most of us, the word mistake or accident immediately triggers thoughts of something embarrassing or evokes memories of those forehead slapping incidents of our lives. But why is that? Well, simply because our brains are wired in such a way that we always, mind you, almost always focus on the negatives first. Throughout my life, I've seen ample events that carved out my pessimistic approach towards mistakes. Incidents that flipped the course of history, changed the fabric of the world as we knew it, or even overturned the lives of several involved. All of which had a common factor. They engraved their lasting presence in our world's timeline. And since our brains are so fixated on those negatives, I'd like to show the glass half empty too. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Words that come to your mind would be bombings, attacks, destruction, devastation. But the one word that you wouldn't possibly think about, and the one word that this event perhaps would not have been caused without, is this: Mokosatsu. This 9-letter Japanese word sealed the fate of millions during World War II. Back in 1945, when the Japanese Prime Minister was questioned about Japan's surrender to the Soviet Union, he uttered this one deadly word which led to catastrophic consequences. You see, the meaning of this word was no comments. However, it was mistranslated to be misinterpreted as not worthy of comments, which the Allies took as a direct insult. And what was meant to be a neutral response from Japan morphed into a huge diplomatic blunder, ultimately terming this to be the most tragic linguistic mistranslations, which culminated in the devastating bombings that have left indelible marks to this day. If you're anything like me, you don't like making mistakes. You don't enjoy that unsettling feeling, that guilt seeping through your consciousness, or that utter frustration in comprehending what went wrong, or simply not achieving that perfection that you so wished for. You realize, slowly and surely, that you're the often dreaded 5-letter word, wrong. But the thing is, after realizing that I myself have made several mistakes and encountered accidents that were totally uncalled for, which have still left their lasting impression on me, is when I started looking at that daunting word wrong from a very different lens. Perhaps not every mistake or accident leads to someone being wrong. What truly changed my perception for the better was this painting. This beautiful, unique, almost perfect piece. Almost. You see, the artist behind this painting is my incredibly talented dad. He worked directly with paints when giving Annie, the girl in this painting, a lifelike touch. But it was almost perfect. And that's because there's an accident that you probably wouldn't notice. Paint had accidentally spilt on Annie's right eye, and naturally, my dad was devastated. He thought that the painting he'd painstakingly tried to create for over 3 months was ruined. But then, in the face of his frustration, something remarkable happened. Instead of it being a setback, that unexpected splash of color gave rise to a stunning wave of hair, which enhanced Annie's appearance, giving her that lifelike touch that my dad had aimed for. All due to that one little accident with an unexpectedly profound impact. And to this day, she's a cherished possession in our house. Have you ever wondered how the world's favorite beverage, Coca-Cola, came into existence? I'm sure everyone here has enjoyed its carbonated goodness, but what if I told you that it was a byproduct of pure accident? Imagine being a pharmacist hoping to make it big into the world by finding the cure for headaches, but actually creating a drink that would generate billions in revenue, be cherished by people across the world, and deck the shelves of each convenience store, because that's exactly what happened with our beloved Coke. And then there are accidents that make history. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was never intended to tilt. Soft ground and design flaws turned ambition into accident. It isn't even the world's most tilted tower, and yet this near disaster to global icon earned itself the UNESCO World Heritage status. And if this mistake could become a marvel, it just goes to show that sometimes the world celebrates not perfection, but the beauty of a flaw that defies the odds. These incidents led me to the realization that mistakes and accidents, they were inevitable. They were these stepping stones to that imperfection that is far better than the picture perfect portrayal of things. I realized that I was now confident to face that daunting word wrong. Alexander Pope once said, "To err is human," and I started believing that. These were incidents of mistakes and accidents that I'd heard or read about. However, I don't think it's possible to talk about something this passionately without having a first hand encounter yourself. I had made a subject selection in my 10th grade. I gave the subjects prelims and then came marks. Shockingly unexpected ones. It shook me so much that I was convinced I was wrong with the subject selection. That I, Ayona, had made a mistake. A grave one. The feeling of being so wrong sunk so deeply into me that it led me to be sitting across the table with my teacher, ready to hand him my subject drop form while I wept continuously. But then something stopped me. Something held me back from turning my thought into action. I went back home, that form still clutched in my hand, and thought to myself, I couldn't give up this easily, right? Even if taking the subject was a mistake, I had decided I was going to work on it. Soon came prelim 2. Tensed, heart erratic, and slightly hopeful, I got my paper back. I had gotten an A star, which I would have never expected in this subject. Ever. And that's when something clicked. We make mistakes, but we actually have the power to turn them around. And it was this pivotal moment in my life that changed my outlook towards mistakes forever. When I began my journey, I feared failure, and hence I feared mistakes. Because I saw mistakes as failure, as these roadblocks, as these barriers to that success that I so wanted to taste. But over time, with all of these incidents in my life, my perspective shifted. I saw mistakes not as failure, but as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to discover. Every mistake I made taught me something invaluable. Every mistake I made led me to a better version of myself. It pushed me to think differently, to adapt, and to innovate. The story of Coca-Cola, a serendipitous creation born from an unexpected error, mirrors my journey. It shows that how some of the most beautiful things in life come from the most unexpected places. So now, I embrace mistakes with open arms. I'm comfortable with that uncertainty. I now trust the process. And I now know that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. So I urge you all to rethink your relationship with mistakes. Don't shy away from them. Embrace them. Learn from them. Let them guide you to newer possibilities. Because remember, it's not about avoiding making mistakes, but it's about what you do after you've made one. So are you ready to make a mistake? Because I know I am. Thank you.